Okay, let's continue the encyclical Libertas by who?
Leo the 13th.
What year?
1888.
What month?
June the 20th.
Yes, the front cover says April, and the document says June. So someone made a little mistake there. And then you all have the copies of Bishop Williamson's summary, right? You want to bring that with you. This is very, very precious. Very precious. This Bishop Williamson, he had a tremendous gift to take a document and break it down and make a schema out of it. It's a tremendous gift, and it's been a benefit for many, many priests and seminarians, and still today. So remember to pray for his soul. Okay. Page 15. Okay, let's just do a quick summary of the chart. Introduction, the grandeur of liberty, paragraph 1. Read it, Tony.
Liberty, man's highest natural gift, is assisted by the Redeemer, cherished by church.
Yes. Did the angels have liberty?
Yes.
Did the devils have liberty?
Yes.
Yes. So, do the dogs and cats have liberty?
No.
Because they don't have,
Reason.
right? They're not free to build their nest with windows and stairs. They have to always build their nest the same way, right? They have no free will. Need for correct notions, a need for a correct understanding of liberty. 2, Andres?
But vitiated modern notions of it require a separate encyclical.
Yeah, so with the French Revolution and all the false ideas of liberty, we have to treat the question and make it clear. Again, that this is the church teaching doctrine. This is her duty. And it's wonderful when the popes do their duty and bishops. True liberty can be either what or what?
It can either be physical liberty or moral liberty.
Moral liberty can either be,
Doctrine or church.
and physical liberty, the doctrine of it and the church's teaching. Firstly, paragraph 3, doctrine of liberty. Paragraph 3, read it, Guadalupe.
Natural, that is, physical liberty, base of all liberties, is based on man's rational nature.
And rational nature means man can
Oh, reason?
reason and make decisions, yes. The church teaching, paragraph 4, Michael.
The immortal soul's natural liberty, the church has defended against all
Comers, those who attack the immortality of the soul. Okay, and then moral liberty, the doctrine of it. Liberty requires what?
Law.
Paragraph 5, Anthony.
Liberty is a faculty of beings that can choose by intelligence and will.
6,
But erring human intelligence and wayward will can wreck their choice.
wayward will.
Wayward will can wreck their choice.
So erring human intelligence, which can err and make mistakes and misjudgments, and the wayward will, being more selfish, being self-centered, being enslaved to sensual pleasure, for example, can wreck their choice. Can wreck their choice. 7, go on, Andres.
Human intelligence and will require direction, i.e. law.
What's I.e.?
I don't know.
Id est.
That is.
Id est.
Est.
In Latin. Id, id, est, est. That is law. So human intelligence and will require direction. They require what?
Direction.
That is?
Law.
So this is a very key point. Why do man's intelligence and weak will require law?
Because it can be easily mistaken or misapplied.
Yes, because of,
Original sin.
yes, an actual sin. So there has to be some guideline, some law. And the law is not arbitrary, it's from Almighty God, as we'll see. But all law is God's law. Paragraph 8, Tony.
In the individual, there is natural law, implant of God's eternal law, helped by God's grace.
Yeah, so what is the natural law? It is the implanting of the
Eternal law.
eternal law in man's soul. And what do we call that? To do evil, to do good and avoid evil.
The natural law.
It's man's
Conscience.
conscience. The conscience is our best friend. Our conscience is our best friend. And then our guardian angel to back it. And then paragraph 9, Tony.
In society, there is human law, enacting or supporting God's natural law.
Yes, so human law must be in conformity to divine law. If it isn't, then what does St. Peter and Paul say?
We must obey God rather than man.
Yes, so God, goodbye with your arbitrary human laws that go against God's laws. We can't obey them. So it's very, very firmly established, very stable. You see that? All right, and then the church's teaching. Therefore, liberty requires, paragraph 10, Guadalupe, therefore, the 3 dots symbolize therefore.
Therefore, true human liberty lies in conforming with God's eternal law.
So what's true human freedom? Everybody?
To conform with God's eternal law.
What's true independence, liberty, and freedom?
To conform with God's eternal law.
What is true happiness and freedom?
To conform with God's eternal law.
Is there true liberty and freedom when we go against God's law?
No.
No. This is what we have to get into our system. We got to convert because we're all liberals. We got to start learning how to think according to reality and truth in the church's infallible teaching. And here it is. Therefore, true human liberty lies in revolting against God's eternal law.
No. Conforming with God's eternal law.
Yes. True human liberty requires independence from God's law. Is that true?
No.
What's the answer?
Conforming with God's eternal law.
11. But God's law, 11, Guadalupe.
For God's authority perfects and guides human liberty to the good which is its perfection.
Repeat.
For God's authority perfects and guides human liberty to the good which is its perfection.
So you're telling me that God actually seeks the good of men?
Yes.
He's not trying to inhibit my freedom, happiness, and pursuit of liberty?
No.
No, God wants our happiness. He wants our true freedom. So his authority perfects and guides human liberty with his law to the good which is its perfection. So the church is the defender of true liberty. 12, Michael.
Of this true liberty, the Catholic Church has always been the incomparable defender.
Protector of the people. 13, Michael.
Tying authority to God, she ennobles true obedience, effectually bars tyranny.
Yes, so tying authority to God, because all authority comes from
God.
and all human authority, they're free to conform or rebel against God's law, right?
No.
No.
A human can break from God's law, right?
They can, but they don't have freedom in the sense that Pope Leo XIII is speaking.
Right, but he can.
But he can. Yes.
He has the physical liberty to do it. So the authority, tying authority to God, the church ennobles true obedience, effectually barring tyranny. Because how does it stop tyranny?
Because it makes the ruler realize his subjection to God, even though all others are subjected to him. He must answer to the highest
Yeah, so the ruler has to have some fear of
of God.
God.
and misusing his
Authority.
And he's reminded of the duties he has towards his subjects as well.
Yeah. And leaders are heavily judged. And if that's the case with political leaders and fathers of families, how much, and priests, how much more bishops and popes? And think of the damage these popes have done. It's unspeakable damage. It's worse than the bombing of Hiroshima, Dresden, Hamburg. It's worse than any Nagasaki. It's worse than anything like that. False liberty. So here's the church teaching the true liberty. And now what's the false liberty? What's wrong with false liberty of the French Revolution and the Masons? Doctrine of
Liberalism.
All right, in general and in detail. In general, you have radical liberalism, the individual. 15, Anthony?
Human reason is sovereign. Man enters and is subject to nobody.
Yeah, that's radical liberalism. Man is God. I don't need to bow down to anybody else. Or at the level of the state, rationalism. 16, Anthony?
Then morality is pleasure. Law is the majority. And revolution is everywhere.
Right. So what makes my morality?
Pleasure.
What pleases me? The only thing in such a society, a state that allows, what's the only restriction in such a system of government?
That which infringes upon the liberties of others.
Yes. Any mob violence and all that. But even that doesn't stop democratic liberal states. Right? They're always having mob fights to push their liberal ideas. Then morality becomes pleasure. Law is
The majority.
the majority vote. The majority vote for abortion, or euthanasia, or sodomite laws. Well, it must be true then. And revolution is everywhere. Moderate liberalism at the level of the individual. Andres, 17.
And to accept God's natural law, but refuse his revealed law, is still to throw off God.
Yeah, so moderate liberalism says, okay, I don't agree with getting drunk. I don't agree with adultery. But every man should be free to choose religion, whatever religion he wants. You see? It's moderate liberalism. It's the Society of St. Peter position, and now the new SSPX position. This moderate sitting on the fence. Well, we'll compromise a little bit, but let's not get too extreme here. I don't want to say the new Mass, but Vatican II and the new Mass, it can enrich the traditional liturgy, but I'm not going to say it. Right? That's moderate liberalism. Repeat, and Andres, 17.
And to accept God's natural law, but to refuse his revealed law, is still to throw off God.
Yeah, so the revealed law is his 10 commandments and the laws of the church, which are binding. Liberalism, moderate liberalism at the level of the state. 18, Tony.
And to subject the individual, but exempt the state from obeying God, is also absurd.
Repeat.
And to subject the individual, but exempt the state from obeying God, is also absurd.
So I repeat. And to subject the individual from obeying God, and also the state is absurd. So the state has to obey God's law. Absolutely. And the laws must conform to, the laws of the state should conform to
The laws of God.
Yes. You see how sound this is? You see what a solution this is to so many problems? That's why priests need to preach these things. And a subject like this is quite intense. You know, the average sermon, this one might be too deep. But you can still touch on it in many angles. Doctrine of liberalism in general, in detail. Freedom of worship. So here's the errors. So you got radical rationalism, moderate liberalism, then freedom of worship. Freedom. Individual level. 19, Guadalupe.
Liberty of worship means a man may profess any religion or none as he likes.
Yeah. Is that a true approved liberty? No. 20. Go on.
But all men must profess whatever religion God has recognizably laid down.
Repeat.
But all men must profess whatever religion God has recognizably laid down.
Yes. And has God recognizably laid down a religion? And as Leo XIII said, you can know it by... How do you know the true religion?
By its attributes, the 4 marks.
Which are?
1, Holy Catholic and Apostolic.
Yes. Freedom of worship as to the state. 22, Michael.
Liberty of worship is as harmful.
Wait, 21 rather, I'm sorry.
The state, too, coming from God, must profess the recognizably true religion.
Repeat.
The state, too, coming from God, must profess the recognizably true religion.
Right, so you see, the individual must, but the state also too, because the state is made up of individuals. 22.
Liberty of worship is as harmful to the state as the true religion is helpful to it.
Repeat.
Liberty of worship is as harmful to the state as the true religion is helpful to it.
All right, and then detail, doctrine of liberalism in detail, freedom of speech. 23, Anthony.
Liberty of press means oppression of the people by subtle, flattering, deadly errors.
Repeat.
Liberty of press means oppression of the people by subtle, flattering, deadly errors.
Wait a minute, I thought liberty of the press freed people and gave them the ability to make their own decisions and their own judgments. Why is he calling it an oppression?
Because what they believe is not liberty but license. License to print whatever they wish. The good and the evil. Meaning that the people will be now under the slavery of whoever sounds more convincing or whoever appeals more to their senses and their trains of thought.
Okay. Well, because of original sin, most people tend towards
Towards the evil.
what's selfish and what pleases the sensuality. For most, that's where it's at. Right? So, how would liberty of the press become an oppression on the people?
Because of the very fact that due to original sin, man is inclined towards the evil, towards sin. With the liberty of the press, them allowing anything to be printed, most people are going to print bad stuff, and most people are going to take that bad stuff.
Yes. So to sell a car, they have a pretty half-dressed woman, right? That's exploiting the senses to sell your cars, right?
Yes.
So, and it's, of course, it's much worse now. So pornography, for example, enslaves the masses, truly destroys the mind, the heart, the innocence, especially of children and adults too. A lot of adultery goes on today because of pornography. So liberty of the press means oppression of the people by subtle, flattering, deadly errors. Now, when do you ever hear this? When do you ever hear this teaching? We're always soaked that the liberty of the press is the greatest thing because you can express your opinion and make your own judgment, right? But you don't make your own judgment when all you get is false news, and it's not even true anymore, most of it. A lot of it is lies. So if you're the enemy of the church and the enemy of Christ, you want to have as much power over all media outlets as possible. Then you just brainwash the people. You got them. And you can make a fake scenario of Republican and Democrat that they're fighting each other and they stand for different ideals. And they just laugh because it's two sides of the same coin. But they can play that game up, play it big, Dr. Williamson used to say when Nixon ran against JFK, that was when color TV came out. And Nixon was pale, old, and everybody sees this pale old guy. And then you got JFK, who realized he had some advisors tell him, look, put a little makeup on, put some colored, a little more color to your face, because it's color TV now. And just because of that, the young, spazazzy, intelligent JFK, and of course being Catholic, won all the Catholic votes. And he was a decent man in many ways, you have to say. He was an Americanist, but he was decent in many ways. They killed him for a reason. And one of them was, I understand, was he wasn't going to break free from the federal grip on the finances, and something to do with Cuba. Yeah.
He also said Israel shouldn't have nuclear weapons.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason to finish him off. That's right. I've been to the street where he was shot, and yeah, they know now it was a definite setup, and Oswald was just a patsy. And he was murdered. It was an overthrow. So here we are, the great modern age of democracy, and you've got same old overthrows going on as you had with monarchies and aristocracies. So democracy is not the best system in the world. It's simply not. And at a national level, it's proven it doesn't work. So here it is, JFK, the young, spazazzy, colorful guy, up against pale Nixon, and he won the votes very easy with color TV. So that was the Dr. Frederick Williamson brings that out. So the power of the media to seduce the people, right? And you can see it today. So nobody ever thinks of this, that liberty of the press actually means oppression of the people. Who ever thinks of this? It's oppression, enslavement. How many of you read Animal Farm? Yeah. All right, so all the means of information was all governed by those in power. So,
Pigs.
It wasn't the case.
yeah, so you control all the means of information, you control the people.
It's funny that that's the pigs, because in Spain, the Spanish called the Red Sea pedestrians marranos, which means pigs.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Morano, yeah, morons. In English, we got morons, yeah. So anyway, let's go on. Freedom of the teaching, verse 24, paragraph 24. Michael?
Liberty of teaching is likewise contrary to the good of men's minds, which is truth alone.
Right, so he means the liberty of teaching error and half error. Right, so that's condemned also. Freedom of conscience, 25. Michael?
Of the progress of all true teaching and learning, the church has been greatest promoter.
Yeah. Of the progress of all true teaching and learning, the church is right behind it. And she's the one promoting it. So true teaching, the church is there when she's in her right mind. And the liberty of teaching error, condemned. Freedom of conscience, 26. Anthony?
Liberty of conscience, to worship at will, is nonsense. To obey God is holy Christian.
Repeat. Louder.
Liberty of conscience, to worship at will, is nonsense. To obey God is holy Christian.
27.
But the freedom to obey God is, for the liberals, an attack upon their state.
And then the church and toleration, 28. Andres?
To avoid a greater evil, the church may tolerate but never approve these false liberties.
Right, so there's a difference between toleration of an evil and approving it. And that's what point did Archbishop Lefebvre make in the battle between witnessed by the cardinals between Ottaviani and Cardinal Bea. Ottaviani stood for,
Religious
Toleration.
Toleration.
right, but always promoting firstly the
real
the kingship of Christ and the Catholic state, which means in such a system they may tolerate the Jews to worship their private worship, and Protestants have their private worship in their community halls, but they cannot spread their errors everywhere. That's toleration, and that makes sense to avoid a civil war or to avoid worse problems, right? But that's a huge difference than saying the state approves false religions, and they can build and spread their religion as much as they want. You see the difference, right?
Yeah.
And that's what is condemned by the church. So to avoid a greater evil, the church may tolerate, but never approve false liberties. Conclusion, liberalism summed up. Its essential vice, Tony, 29.
Liberalism throws off the authority of God, which alone can direct liberty to its goal.
30, its various forms of liberalism, God rejected. 30,
Absolute liberalism throws off God absolutely, in the public and in private.
and then 31, the church, in various forms of liberalism, summed up, God is accepted, the church rejected. Simpliciter, simply. 31,
Moderate liberalism throws off only the supernatural law, separation of church and state.
yeah, so moderatism is behind separation of church and state. But let's not be too extreme, that's all. Secundum quid, in a certain way. 32,
Some separators are for the state, disregarding the church altogether.
and 33,
Others are for state depriving church of her rights as a perfect society.
yes, so some believe in church and separation of church and state, but let the church be free. Others say, wipe out the church. You see the degrees of liberalism. And then God, liberalism, church adapted, 34, paragraph 34, Guadalupe.
Others are for state recognizing church and her rights, so long as she gets with it.
Gets with it, which means,
That she gets with the times.
which is what was the Italian word at Vatican II?
Aggiornamento.
Aggiornamento, everybody say it,
Aggiornamento.
which means what?
To get with the times.
Modernize the,
Church.
to fit
To fit modern now.
to modern ideas. Is the church condemning the use of better vehicles and better engines and better medicine?
No.
No, that's not the level she's talking about. What's the level of we cannot accept modernization at? What level?
Doctrine.
Doctrine and philosophy, yes. Truth cannot.
Change.
All right, so let's pick up. The church indeed, paragraph 25, page 15. The church indeed, read on, Anthony. Page 15, paragraph 28.
The church, indeed, as facts have everywhere proved,
Louder.
looks chiefly and above all to the defense of the Christian faith, while careful at the same time to foster and promote every kind of human learning. For learning is in itself good and praiseworthy and desirable. And further, all erudition, which is the outgrowth of sound reason, and in conformity with the truth of things, serves not a little to confirm what we believe on the authority of God. The Church, truly, to our great benefit, has carefully preserved the monuments of ancient wisdom.
Prove it. How has the church preserved monuments of ancient wisdom? Prove it.
When it says monuments, what does it mean, Father?
Libraries, archaeological sites, works.
So, like the works of Aristotle, those of Plato.
How has she preserved them?
by teaching them, by continuing to hand them down through generations.
How? At a very practical level, how?
through the Catholic schools.
Okay.
With the monasteries, because I think the monasteries copied a lot of the old philosophers.
Exactly, the scriptorium.
Yeah.
The scriptorium was a whole room in the monastery where the monks wrote down word for word the books of Aristotle, Plato, Socrates, even Virgil, and even some not great works. The church wrote them down physically, in the Bible too. It's all from the Catholic Church. And we got to think about this. They didn't just have paper and pen. The paper was sheepskin. So someone has to raise these sheep. And they have to be specifically fed for this purpose, that their skin will be useful for writing on and preserved. Then they got to shear the sheep, treat the skin, tan it, dry it, and then cut it, and then sew it together in a book form. And then get the ink that will actually write and hold on that skin. And then get all the colorful paints, because they always did the calligraphy and often the beautiful gold-leafed paintings to make the words of God ennobled, right? And then one of those books put together cost a fortune. Today it'd probably be, $20,000, $30,000 for such a book, right? Not everybody can afford this. But who wrote down, who gave their life to God, and the superior says, okay, you have a talent for this, your job for this year will be writing the 4th chapter of Aristotle's Nicomedean Ethics. And if you make a mistake and you can't erase it, you got to start all over again. And so, yes, so that point is, people don't think of this, especially Protestants. Oh, the Bible is all, religion is all the Bible. Who gave you the Bible? Who was there writing it down word for word when there was no Protestant on the face of the earth in the 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 1400s? I often bring that point up to Protestants, and it always just goes over their head most of the time. But maybe if they hear it, they look into it and discover, that is true. The church, it's the Catholic Church who gave us the Bible. So I repeat, the church, truly to our great benefit, has carefully preserved the monuments of ancient wisdom. Who has?
The church
Go on.
has opened everywhere homes of science and has urged on intellectual progress by fostering most diligently the arts by which the culture of our age is so much advanced.
Okay, anybody give an example how the church encourages the arts?
The monasteries came up with the laws of music for writing music, notation.
Yes, we have Beethoven thanks to the monks. We have the works of Vivaldi. And even the rock musicians, they owe it indirectly to the church. They do. What other arts?
Paintings came from the church, icons.
Icons, paintings, woodwork, sculptures, bronze works,
Gothic, Baroque,
architecture, stained glass windows.
Even the agriculture, all the peasants would have learned it from the monks,
That's right.
since that's what the monks would be doing.
And even beer. Everybody enjoys a beer. But who perfected the recipe for beer? The Catholic monks. And wine too. So all these bars out there, they have to thank the Catholic Church. Think of it. True, all culture comes from the church. From Christ. Culture, what's the root word of culture? And the root word of that in Latin is colere. Colo, colere, colui, cultus, which means to plow the field, cultivate. So that which plows the field of man's mind and life and thinking at the individual and cultural and social level, the center of it is going to be the cult. And what is the cultus? What is the cultus? That is the worship. How man worships is his culture. If his worship is on Christ, his culture will be Christocentric, and therefore ennoble everything from knowledge, arts, music, paintings, sciences, sacredness of marriage, raising children, this education, even dances, the great dances of the Catholic countries of Italy, Hungary, Russia, Ukraine, Mexico. You know, the church ennobled the culture. But if the cultus of a society, the worship, is on money and self-pleasure, hedonism, what's going to be the most important buildings? It'll be shopping malls, banks, and huge sports stadia. While the big buildings in this era, where the faith is the center, will be monasteries, cathedrals, churches,
Schools, hospitals.
schools, hospitals. The monasteries were basically the hospitals and ran the schools. Charlemagne made sure there were monasteries were supported to run the great. They called it the joyful monastery schools. That's what they were known as, the joyful monastery schools. So you see how upside down modern man is. But the cult, the worship, establishes the culture of a society. So modern man is now Christless, godless, and he's depraved. He's depraved. And all the big buildings are everything. Oh, casinos we could probably add on to there too. Why are casinos so popular on Indian reservations?
Because they can come up with their own laws, so they're not subject to the state laws for gambling.
Oh yeah?
It's like a loophole.
Well, they sure get away with a lot. All right. Agitore Wilson in nomine Domini.